This coverage of the 2018 SHOT Show is brought to you by MagnetoSpeed's newest product, the M-Series Grip System. This high-tech AR-style grip has interchangeable modules for every situation, from monopods to flashlights. Check out their website or follow them on Facebook for more information.
This is John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and we're here at the SHOT Show 2018 at the Accuracy Solutions booth. And Seth is going to take us through some of Accuracy Solutions products. Seth?
Well, you know, John, we introduced our flagship line last year and took it out to the field and had a lot of testing done in different environments in the sniper community and also out in some of the competition community in the world, and tried to take that feedback and put that into what we were going to do as our production lineup, which we're releasing this year. So what we ended up coming up with is the TAC 2 and the TAC 3 model on a tactical lineup. And then we're also going to introduce a marksman line, which comes in more for the sportsman, the lighter weight rifles that are it's going to come out a little bit later this year around April. These, however, the tactical line will be ready in February. So what we have is a carbon fiber telescoping extension system that allows you to extend the resting point of your bipod away from the toe of the rifle. So with typically mounted bipods, what you end up doing is you create a fulcrum and a lever system, which science tells us any force applied to one end of a lever directly translates to the other end of the lever, dependent on the placement of the fulcrum. So what we got to looking at was when you're mounting your bipod in traditional style, you end up creating almost a 50-50 transference of that force in almost a teeter-totter type of fashion. So what we did is we've extended it out now. As far as our system gets you, it takes you from a generic 29 inches of a standard mount from the toe of the rifle all the way out to 52 inches with our extension system.
Okay, so almost doubling what you did.
Almost double, and what that actually does, the math behind it is it reduces the biological input at the toe of the rifle by a factor of 69.8%. So almost 70% of the movement that you put in with, because we're not perfect, the gun's gonna operate, but we're the ones who screw it up back here at the rear of the rifle, right? So what we're back here screwing up is gonna be reduced in what you experience coming out of the muzzle end of the rifle by a factor of almost 70%.
Okay.
So at 1,000 yards, if you wanted to math on it, think in terms of that, 1/8 of an inch of movement with a standard mounted bipod will actually shift your point of impact, if you move 1/8 of an inch at the time of firing, 58 inches, so 2 inches shy of 5 feet, okay? So on a standard person, that if you're aiming center mass, you know, you're 3 feet over the target or below, depending on which way you moved. By extending the resting point just to the length that we can get our system right now and still be confident that it's rigid and stable, that reduces that at 1,000 yards to a 21-inch shift of impact.
Okay.
So you're still getting a hit on target at that distance just by extending your resting point. Now, one of the cool things, you can take a hold of that right there, is that our system weighs in at under 2 pounds. This is the heaviest model we have, and it weighs in right at 30 ounces. So some of our marksman lines on the sportsman line, they weigh in right at about 1 pound. And we came out with a molly bag this year that's gonna go along with it. So that was one of the requests we got was, hey, we need this to be a little more field expedient. Our molly bag comes in and can be attached to any basic molly webbing PALS kit. But what I also did, because we do work a lot with the sniper committee, is we put belt loops on it. So this actually can be worn on the rear of the waist, somewhere on the hip, on the pouch, and it can be accessed single-handedly. We put a double zipper on it where you can access a single hand and slide this out even if you're in a prone position. So it tried to make it field expedient where you could use it when you could, and when you didn't have to, you didn't have to have it on the rifle, so you can take it on and off. We designed a brand new unit mount that's built out of T6 aluminum. So everything on this is actually mil spec, and we actually have quite a few military units that are testing and fielding this right now. But they wanted a more rigid lockup and an easier quick detach system. So we partnered with the guys over at LTech, which is the company that makes Accutech bipods, who we actually became a distributor for this year. So in our lineup, we're going to be offering several packages with Accutech bipods along with the BIpodEXT. But they manufactured our hardware for us. We put a lot of design input to them and went back and forth and got this thing until we got it right where we wanted it. So it's quick on, it's quick off, and when you put it on, it's like having a steel pipe underneath the rifle.
So really, since you have the QD on the actual device itself, and then you have QD on your bipod as well, then you can switch between it as situation requires. So if it's going to be a close, quick kind of thing where you need to set up fast, you don't need to worry about this. But if it's a longer range shot, then you can take the time to set it up.
Right, or if you're running two different types of bipods, depending on what you run, I've actually run into several scenarios where guys leave a bipod on the extension and just fold their legs up and have just enough clearance to be able to run, not have to take their bipod off. Mainly with like the Harris style bipods because they're a lot lower profile.
Right.
They're able to just fold their legs up and run the extension system when the situation calls for it.
Now, what kind of shooters do you think would benefit from this kind of setup?
Well, man, we've had it, we've had a lot of shooters in the competition world that have used it in varying stages. When you've got stages that call for like a car hood, and it's really hard to get, you got a bump in the middle and slopes on both sides, and they're able to reach out across that and get a nice stable platform and stand behind the car where they're not having to lean out to get any kind of rock or play, and then adjust their cant. That's one of the cool things about the system is, the bipod is further away. That's a question we get, well, if the bipod's all the way out there, how do I adjust my bipod? Well, that's really simple. You've got a clamp right here that adjusts 360 degrees, so your canting ability is controlled with the BIpodEXT. Not on your actual bipod.
So now you can use a fixed bipod that doesn't have any swivel, like a bench rest style bipod on the bottom here, and take care of the swivel from the BIpodEXT.
Yeah, we like pairing it up a lot of times, like with some of the F-class bipods, these big boys right here, which I'm sure you guys saw over at AccuTac. Putting that on there with that wide base and then extending it out, it's really like being locked in a bench vise. It's just ridiculously stable. Some of the other areas, though, I mean, we've had great feedback from police and SWAT snipers who are finding this, giving them the stability, say, on a rooftop where they're leaning over a mezzanine or have a mezzanine wall that they're perching up on top of. Now they're actually able to move their silhouette back out of the skyline and step back off the edge, extend their bipod out and gain stability, but they're also gaining cover and concealment and still being able to keep a watch on what they're looking at without getting out of that dead space up front. So that's another thing that those guys have liked. And then out in the field with the military guys, I mean, God, they're abusive to these things, but they haven't broke one yet, so that's awesome. But they love it. They like being able to set this up. They set their recon equipment up on it, camera equipment up on it, and they're able to take and add a level of stability and mobility to an area where they were limited to having to use tripods before.
Well, I can definitely see from a military or law enforcement sniper aspect, if you're back inside of a building or back inside of a vehicle, being able to extend this and get that bipod out closer to the muzzle definitely aids in the concealability as well as the stability standpoint. But from what I understand, talking to you off camera, these were also used this last weekend at the ELR shoot.
That's correct,
here in Vegas.
Yeah, so we had one of the competitors that was shooting in the shoot, who shoots for Ritter and Stark, who we play a lot around with those guys. Those guys are good friends. So they were shooting for Ritter and Stark out at the ELR match, and one of the shooters was actually one of the only ones out of the 8 I think total that had hits at the tournament. To get a first round hit at 1768, and he was running this extension with one of the new AccuTac bipods that are coming out this year.
Okay. Well, very nice. And what's the price point for the basic system, and then what add-ons do you have from there?
So these haven't come out, and the prices haven't hit the internet yet. But what we're going to have is very similar to what you can find on our website right now. So these models are going to be somewhere around the $499 to $599 area. And then when our Sportsman line comes out, those are going to drop down to about the $199 price point, right around that mark. They haven't been 100% established, but in that ballpark.
Okay, and the Sportsman is just going to be a more compact, lighter weight version
so it's
of this.
I don't know if I have one right here or not. Is this it? No, those are extras. Yeah, so it's a smaller tube. So basically, what you're getting is it's a lighter weight system. The aluminum hardware is going to be replaced with a high density polymer. Okay. So it's only a single extension slide out. The polymer one of the things we found last year is with the double extension, the polymer had a tendency to flex and was causing some bouncing and things like that, which we fixed with the tactical model and the rigidity that we're using for the ELR and any of the high kinetic environment shooters that are going to be doing that. Any kind of competition shooters are going to want to go after this type of model. The Sportsman, though, however, is going to be extremely lightweight, something you can throw, in a fanny pack. They're a little bit shorter, a little bit smaller, and the overall diameter of the tubes are smaller. So the largest tube is going to be a 40 millimeter diameter, just with the polymer hardware.
Okay, so if you're running a really lightweight rig like a 22 or a hunting rig, then the Sportsman's the way to go. If you're
great on lightweight rifles, any kind of rim fires or anything like that. The weight point that I try to say is anything under like 11 pounds. If you're running a rig that overall is under 11 pounds, so you're running a lightweight hunting rifle or rim fires, actually we had a huge response here at the show, which we hadn't really even reached into this market yet, but from the air rifle guys.
Really?
Who were jumping all over this thing, and that model particularly for guys like that is going to really come in handy because it's lightweight and they're not going to experience any difference in what they have going on with their actual setups. They're just extending their resting point.
Okay, very nice. All right, you have some accessories you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, so real quick, along with the kit, one of the questions we got last year was, can I put this on my rifle? And we tried to come up with the best way to answer that question by providing you the hardware with it. So what it's going to come with is it comes with a basic flat 1913 style Picatinny rail. It is mil-spec built, so it can be used in any environment when you're restricted by those designations. But this is compatible with the M-LOK system, and that hardware comes with in the package. What it also comes with is our hardware kit, which has threaded pillars included. So if you're running a fiberglass stock or a standard wood stock or something along those lines, all you have to do is throw a couple pillars in there, and they run flush with the stock, so you're not adding anything to the bottom. If you want to take this off, and all it is taking a couple of 10-30-second screws out, and you're ready to rock on. We also had a Keymod rail built. So we're building these here at Accuracy Solutions for the needs of this, and each one of these rails are set perfectly to fit for this system. So you're not going to have to adjust anything here since this is a unimount. These rails are built for it, and they're a little bit longer than what you can buy over the counter, so that you're not having to buy two at once and move them back and forth.
And then you don't have to worry about alignment or anything.
Exactly, it lines up perfect. So we're going to offer the M-LOK, the standard Picatinny, the Keymod rail, and then one of the things we came up with originally that we're still going to provide is our angled Picatinny rail, our tilted rail. And what this does is for hunters or sportsmen or anyone shooting a stock like on an M24 that has a tapered forend, this actually mounts to that tapered forend and gives you a parallel surface so that the angle of the BIpodEXT is parallel with the axis of the bore, and you don't have to adjust that as you go out. So you get to take full advantage of the extension where sometimes you would be extending up into the barrel. That's not good. So we provide this angled rail, and we actually made this one out of a high density polymer so that it can be sanded and shaved down to fit your stock.
Nice. So even those really extreme, shorter, canted forends can benefit from this system without running into the possibility of shooting the front edge.
Exactly.
of the
and I will say,
BIpodEXT.
We've put some pretty large blasts towards the end of this. You're not going to blow it up. There's no way. The closer you get to the muzzle, it's not going to come into it. This is built 100% in the USA, and this is for carbon fiber. It's actually a very thick-walled carbon fiber, and this tactical model, you can literally extend out and lean it up against the wall and jump on it, and it's not going to give. So you're not going to blow it up. Don't think pushing it towards the muzzle you're taking a risk of blowing anything. We put these on carbines, and if you check some of our videos out on our social media outlets, you can see where we have these extended well beyond muzzles, and there's no problem. So we've been shooting standard carbines out to 950,000 yards with 14-inch barrels. I mean, And so it really extends what you can do with weapon systems that you really didn't think were capable of doing that before.
Okay. Well, it's a really attractive overall thing. I'm a sucker for carbon fiber, so I like the raw carbon finish on it, and it just definitely looks like a well-built piece of equipment. So I'm really anxious to get this out and shoot a couple of PRS style stages with it, and then see where that fits in. It definitely looks like it's something that would be nice to have in the toolbox for a military or law enforcement sniper.
Oh, yeah.
And for ELR guys, I think it's kind of a no-brainer because, like you said, you're pushing that fulcrum further forward. For PRS guys, I really want to see how this will work on certain stages and certain barricades and stuff.
I think it'll have its place. It'll definitely be one of those things, it's especially with the PRS community, it's really hard to adapt change.
Mm-hmm.
We do things certain ways for so long, and we find ways that work. It's really hard to see something else come in and go, oh, well, maybe that works too, but I know what I'm doing right now works, so you really don't want to give that up, especially when those points are on the line. So it's one of the things that we'll have this year. We'll be at several PRS matches. We're sponsoring several matches this year. Several Guardians, we'll be involved with the Guardian throughout the entirety of the Guardian season. And then we'll be involved with PRS and then National Rifle League. So we will have these at several matches this year on demo days. And we'll have demo rifles out for the guys to come out and actually get behind the rifle on stages to see what the benefit really is. I mean, we had one at Alabama Precision last year, and had several good PRS shooters come by and hop on it and just clean a KYL rack that ended in a 2.5-inch plate. You've been to Alabama, and off the tilted spool, and with someone else's rifle and factory ammo. I mean, we had guys just nailing that 2.5-inch plate right, one shot right after the other. So it really comes in handy, but it is hard to see until you get behind the rifle. So we're going to be at a lot of demo days this year to give people the chance to get behind it and actually see where it comes in handy in those environments.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to working with the product going forward, and thanks a lot for talking to us about it.
Thanks for having us, John.